afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this couple summit. Um, First of all, I want to thank you all for being here and taking time out of your day to join and learn something new for yourself and relationship. I also want to give a thank you to my husband for putting all these together and giving me the opportunity to speak and to hear everybody else, bringing something in and contributing, to our communities. Um, the topic that I'm going to talk to you about today is what happens to a relationship after, you start a family. I think you start a relationship, you start dating, then if it progresses well, you get married, and once you start building a family and a baby comes, there's other challenges and changes that happen in the relationship. As a therapist, I get, a lot of couples struggling, with this issue. And I feel like it's something that I can, relate at this moment. So that's why I choose this topic. Um, so what are the changes, right? What are the changes that happens in the relationship, some of the struggles, and how can we manage them? And that's what I'm going to focus most of my time talking about, like how can we manage and what can we do to, kind of build a relationship, and kind of it's not going to be the same like the beginning when you were dating, your spouse, but it can be joyful, and you can have, like the same drive and wanting to be there with your spouse and stuff like that. Okay, so let's start. So some of the changes that you can see is household duties double. There's more work to do in the house, um, because there's more people, right? And then more things to do. So then at this time, then we start keeping score with their spouse, right? Like, what are the things that you're doing? Are you doing enough? You're not doing enough, right? And that causes some arguments. Second thing will be parenting styles. I feel like, maybe in dating, you talk about like, oh, this is my parenting style. But then whenever reality is here, and, if you guys are parents, you're not going to let me lie, the kids have their own personality as well. So parenting styles could be a little bit hard to manage if you guys don't talk about it and if you guys are not in the same page. There's less opportunity for sex or intimacy, right? You miss your partner. You're not having a lot of time with the baby, requires so much of you. And you miss those days where you can just cuddle with your spouse and just, be there. So that's another challenge. Couples time is now family time. So the time that you had before, to do something fun with your spouse, now you're spending it, the three of you, or if you have more than one kid, as a family. So that changes the dynamic. There's no time off on your own, or less time, let's say less time off on your own to do the things that you used to do that you enjoy. It could be going out with your friends or going to the gym. Now you have less of that time because you have a baby to, take care of. So there is some resentment that it starts building in relationships. I see this a lot. And then usually, couples don't communicate about like the resentment that they're feeling, and it just keeps building up. uh, money is a big thing, just like David or previous presenter talk about it. It affects relationships. It's actually the number one, I think, in the United States, the last time I checked, um, cause of divorce, right? And what happens, when the baby, so you prepare, you're not prepared financially, I don't think, until you have the baby. You try to prepare, but you don't know the expenses and the talks that need to go through. If the mom wants to stay home with the baby, decides like, you know what, I'm not gonna go back to work, and we're just gonna live with, one person's salary, or what are we gonna do about it? So money will be another challenge or another change. um, Okay, so these are some of the challenges. There's many more, I'm sure. Um, but now, how can we manage this? How can we adjust? And how can we, like, kind of survive this time in life? That it could be challenging, but it's also very rewarding. And because it's a way of contributing, to your house and building something something really amazing, right? Like families. Okay, so one of the things that come to my mind that I do talk to my couples about is understanding each other. Everybody says understand each other, but like really understanding each other, meaning like sitting and trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes. I feel there's so much information about what women go through what we go through when we have the baby, but it's not much information about what men goes through whenever they become parents. They become their new fathers as well. Like what happens to them? Like for some reason, we don't pay attention to men so much, and it's only like us what we're going through. And obviously, like we take a lot. I mean, it's a lot on our bodies and stuff like that. But men go through something as well, and that I don't want that to go, unnoticed. They may be feeling some anxiety. They may be having some fears. Ask and try to be compassionate and be there for each other. Understanding that this is only a season of life, during the first few years of a child's life, they need a lot from us, from the parents. So as they get older, they start going to school, and they, start when they go teenagers and stuff, it's less time. So then you're going to have your time back with your partner. Making your spouse a priority, making sure that you schedule dates, that you get ready for dates, that you have the same attitude you had before whenever you were dating. I know that sometimes it is really hard, you get tired and stuff like that, but making it a priority, being mindful of that, and knowing that if you create it once, it can be created again and again, right? It's a choice that we make. Um, and have couples goals. That's a big one. That's something that I actually do with my husband, and I think is very productive because it's a way of knowing where you're going in the relationship, not only what things are going on in the house, but what are we doing for ourselves as a couple. So have some couples goals. Communication, being able to communicate with each other undividedly without being on our phones. Being able to listen. Sometimes, we're trying to communicate and our feelings get involved, and it's really hard for our partners to hear because they care so much about us that they just think like, oh, I'm not doing enough, and not doing enough for my wife. I'm not doing enough, so they have a hard time kind of communicating. We have a hard time communicating with each other. Self-care, making sure that you choose like an activity that you were doing before. It's like I said at the beginning, it's a little bit challenging to do everything you were doing before having the baby, but after the baby, still try to take care of yourself, make it a priority, and choose an activity. Maybe before you were able to spend 3 hours at the gym, and now you're only able to spend like an hour, and adjusting and knowing that that's okay for the time being, and but not leaving it completely. um Asking for help, that is something very important. We usually wait too long to ask for help. um if you're struggling with how things are going in your home, who can you ask for help? Have you had therapy on your own? um Bringing somebody that can help you with that is very important. You get a third perspective outside your relationship, and you start practicing different things that you didn't do before. So asking for help is really beneficial. Again, I feel like in my practice, um, I want to say 8 times out of 10, um, the couple's way too long to come in. And by then, there's just a lot of resentment, a lot of anger that has already been built up. So, know that the help is there. I know that we appreciate, or we put our time on things that is valuable to us. So make sure you ask for help. Don't wait too long. Be patient. This time will pass. It is a different season of life that it has a lot of, good things as well. Not only, negative challenges, but positive challenges as well. And that's basically what I want to bring here for you today. I hope some of the stuff that I talked to you was beneficial.